Coming to you from the M&M Exterior Studio in Knoxville, Virginia, this is Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. She talks to people so you don't have to. For now.
Welcome back to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. I'm here with my awesome girlfriend, Amy Crescimanno-Word.
You got it.
Yes, girl.
Yes.
I wanted to always make sure I say it right.
You're good. It's okay.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for coming.
I'm so glad. I'm really excited about this.
We have been girlfriends for over a year.
Yep.
Amy and I know each other sort of through business. She runs a printing company with her husband, Speed Pro Images. Is that the full name?
Speed Pro Centerville now. They took the imaging out.
Oh.
That's new.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
Because people thought that we did x-rays. Oh. Some lady came in with her doctor's orders, not to our studio, but somebody else's, because it says imaging and it has that little bleepy thing that looks like a heart and a flat line. So they took that out.
Wow.
It's a flat line they took out, and they took out imaging so that people would not think we were a doctor's office. No. So we are Speed Pro Centerville, located in Manassas. That's another story for another podcast.
So many life lessons people can take away from that. Like, okay, is what you're projecting the image that you want.
Exactly.
That is so funny.
Business and personal, right?
Yes. Okay. So yes, you run Speed Pro Centerville. And a printing company.
Yes, not an X-ray company.
So we met each other through business, networking and whatnot. And then we're currently in an awesome, empowering women's networking group together. And then the other really fun thing is you started a Facebook group that was just all about encouraging and uplifting women. So from day one of meeting you, you have been a cheerleader, an encourager, not only to me, but I feel like all women. I see you just killing it. You are in the fitness industry. I've actually heard you're a really big deal in the fitness industry. Hello. I did not know this. I knew you were a big deal, but like,
that's news to me. So I don't know.
Yes, you are. And so I see you killing it, teaching your classes. And so, I just said, you are so awesome. I want to talk about kind of all that
stuff.
So,
I'm glad because I love to talk about it because I love to be a part of that. I have so many women that I admire so much in all sorts of industries and moms that don't work. And I just love to add or take away from all those groups of people. So if I get a chance to speak on anything and then have conversation back, it's like, it's such a learning experience for me all the time. So then I usually hopefully take whatever happens and then go put it off, usually in my classes. So my poor class people, they get all kinds of stuff.
That's so funny.
They thought they came in to ride a bike or lift some weights. And I'm like,
you're like, I'm sharing my inspirational,
that's right.
I was having this conversation. That's basically the story of my life. That's why I was like, I want to start recording these conversations.
That's right.
Because you and I had such a powerful first
did.
Conversation. And I was thinking too, we can talk about it later, but leading up to your birthday this past year, you did like not just a walk down memory lane like people do with like pictures. You said you liked journaling earlier when we were chatting before we recorded it. And it was basically like a look into your soul. You did like a personal.
And it was purely by accident. It happened literally by accident. I started getting maybe about 6 or 7 days down in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, stop it. Who do you think you are? Like, nobody wants to see this. You're acting like like you've got a big ego. Like, why does anybody care that you're turning 50? But I forgot in a way that I was posting it. Sometimes that happens, right? So Facebook, like sometimes you put a post on Facebook. Sometimes you're putting it out to the masses, and other times you feel like you're just talking to a few people and forget that it's like your entire Facebook people. So when I was doing this, it was my mind was on my close friends or women that I spoke with that were having a really hard time with their age period, no matter where they are. Yes. And 50 was like is a huge one for people. Women really. Maybe men too, I don't know, but women for sure.
Yeah.
So I just didn't have a problem with it. I just didn't even care at all. And I'm not sure why. I love birthdays and celebrations. I just do. I think it's really a great time. And I just didn't really think I had a bleep where I thought maybe 50 was like, oh my gosh. And then it didn't even bother me. So I was looking through some pictures, kind of just do a post like, hey, whatever, this is some cool stuff that's happened in my life. And I started thinking about the comments I was getting back from women about the fact that my birthday was coming and how they wouldn't even say how old they were. Mm-hmm. They don't celebrate their birthday ever. They've never celebrated 50. And I was thinking, God, that's so sad. Like, why are you hiding from that? Like, it is. You are. Why are you making that such a depressing thing? And then they were saying about their life and the hardships and whatnot. And so what I thought about, and it's Facebook or any social media, we all know this, is like that's everyone's highlight reel, right? We know that's such a cliche to even say it, but it is. It's everyone's highlight reel. Yeah. Every now and then somebody puts something on there that's rough, but for the most part, you know, take 10,000 pictures and pick the best one. You know, my eyes were closed and like all the team win pictures yesterday. There's probably one that wasn't. I didn't post any of the ones with my eyes closed. Of course not. I want to look cute. So I picked the one with my eyes open. And as I was doing this, it ended up being a countdown to 50. So I started at 50 days, and every day I did the countdown to 1. And what it did was cause me to self-reflect and go through my own highlight reel. Because when you look in your Facebook photos, like you go into your own photos and scroll, that is you are living your best life.
Yes.
And if you've been on Facebook for a while, that's like maybe a decade of amazing times.
Yeah.
And so as I started selecting those, I was like, wow, I forgot about that. And then some of the people that were in the pictures, year after year, I didn't even realize I had been friends with these women for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And most of them were in the gym. So it's like this sweaty outfit. And none of us have makeup on. Our hair's a mess. Like we all look like a hot mess, but I'm smiling with all these same people over and over. And some of them were the same ones who were having a really hard time with their age. And that's how that whole thing came about. And I just thought, this is freaking awesome. Like, look at my cool life. I've got tons of struggles right now. Yes, I've been through a million. I'm going to have a million more, but look at all the great things that have either come out of some of those struggles or the people that have been around me that got me through those.
Yes.
So then I just thought, if I can just share this because it was making my heart feel so good, maybe other people will look at it that way. And if I get the opportunity to explain, that's what that was about. And that's what happened. People just started coming up and going, that is so cool. I never thought about my life like that. I never thought about looking back at all the really cool things. It wasn't about me. It was about like changing the way that you view all of that.
That's what you kind of talked about. And it was your mind shift. I felt like that's what I remembered from it. It was being honest with, this is kind of what I thought, but then this is what changed. And I feel like what I hear a lot, and, you know, kind of what my goal of the podcast is talking to people, is that people tell me a lot, and I think it's true for you too, that you say what people think. So all of your friends were struggling with their age too, and you were willing to put it out there.
Right.
And by doing that, you made everyone feel connected and seen and not alone.
Right.
And so, you know, that's like the goal of sharing. Is it gives power. It gives power to you when you share your story, and it gives power to other people too. So,
and I think the other thing that happened was like some of the people I didn't know very well that would make those comments, but others of them were my dear friends, and I didn't realize that they were so upset about their looks or their age or whatever. And it broke my heart because I didn't see that in them. And so for them to come to me and be like, I can't believe you're doing that. I can't believe you're saying that you're going to be 50. Like, oh my gosh. And they went into these stories about how unhappy they were in certain areas of their life. And I was like, wow, I don't even, like, you're carrying all that and I don't see it. No one else thinks that of you. What a waste to carry that load that only you see because no one else is looking at you like that.
Yes. And that's why you have to share it. You have to let people that are trusted, you have to share it with trusted people so they can break all of those false reality narratives that you have in your head.
Right.
Because when you share, we talk a lot about when you share it, you break the shame. You know, when you keep it inside, that's when the shame festers.
That's exactly right.
And so whether it's something like age or whatever, the more you can kind of just talk honestly with people.
That's so true. And it's like, you're so right, Samantha. So it's like someone sometimes just needs someone else to say, this was big for me. Like my kids slept in the bed with me when they were little. And that was such a no-no.
Taboo.
Like everybody was like, oh my God, you're the worst mom. Oh my God. Ooh. Like, and some of them for no reason. It was just like, don't you know you're not supposed to do that? I'm like, look, if they're out of my bed by the time they go to college, which my son was, so there was no problem. And then I'm good because I need to get some sleep. Like I can't function.
You do you.
But the minute that you said that to some lady who was holding her baby, that clearly his baby slept in the bed with them, the look on her face was like,
thank goodness.
Thank God somebody said that out loud because I've been carrying this around like a burden, you know?
Yes.
And it's so true. The things that you get on and talk about and share is really flushing it out. It's like getting it out there and then someone else can lighten that load from them because they know that they have at least one other person who's done the thing or whatever.
I love Rebecca Bertram's quote. I think it was from the very first episode, which is community is a mathematical phenomenon. It divides grief and multiplies joy. And when you talked about her face, when the mom's holding the baby and you can tell they say something, it's like, it like lessened the load. It just took off the, like, I'm not carrying this alone. And I think with friendships too, the more you share when you want to be there for someone, a lot of times we think, well, I can't do anything, but just by being that listening ear, you're lightening the load for them. You're helping them carry it for that time.
That's exactly right. That's
so
what
good.
Those deep friendships are all about, really. Sometimes you want to fix people, but just being there so they can share that, like you said, and get it off of them, even if they pick it back up an hour later, it's like they have that time.
It's a break. It's like giving a break.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I will say this though. So
just
because I do have to just be honest. So when I had a class the day of my birthday, and they surprised me with this. It was amazing. But I will say I walked into the room and there was these huge, like as big as that blanket thing, a 5 and a 0 in gold lame balloons. And it was the first time I'd really seen the number. And I was like, oh, it was like the biggest 50 I'd ever seen. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually that. And it kind of freaked me out for a second.
Like I'm okay with it, but not
that's
that
half
okay
a century.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, what? And my face must have done something because I was surprised and laughing and like my eyes were like big as saucers. And my friend Tammy was like, what? I'm like, this is the first time I've really looked at the fact that I'm 50. Anyway, what are y'all doing? We got horns. What's going on? Is there cake? That was the end of that. But yeah, we did. I won't say that it, like seeing the number didn't like go, holy cow, but it's a number.
Yeah.
It's a number. And that's a whole discussion for later. But I think a lot of us, I feel better as a human woman person at 50 than I ever did when my body was better, my butt was higher, my skin was less wrinkly, my hair wasn't gray. I mean, like all that stuff we had in our 20s, which us old women keep looking at saying we wish we had that. The person that was inside that 20-year-old shell, I wouldn't take her back for a minute.
Yes.
I would not take her back for a minute. So that's one thing I'll say about age is that that's cliche too, but I swear, I think many of us can say like I feel 25, 30 in my what I wish I would have felt then from a soul standpoint.
Yes.
My body might not reflect that or my hair might not reflect that,
Girl,
but I mean, whatever. I don't even care. Like that's not, no one, when I die, no one's going to come to my ashes or however I do my body and be like, she was really nice and she did a lot for people, but God, if she just would have had a better booty or that she, her hair wasn't, I could have liked her more. They're not going to say that.
Have you been listening to me? Because I,
they're just, if they weren't your friends anyway.
I struggle with my weight. And when I, the pep talk I have to give myself is like, okay, if I'm heavier, do I go to a meeting and say, and I leave and they say, man, she's nice and all, but I would enjoy her so much more
10 pounds lighter.
Yeah, if she were just a little skinnier. Like,
no!
When I saw her fat hanging over her pants, I mean, I wanted to laugh at her joke, but just, I couldn't.
When she gets skinnier, I will.
Yeah.
No!
Like, that's I'm the only one thinking about it.
It's a mess between these two headphones that's going on in our own head all the time. They are just not thinking about that. So if we can get out of that of ourselves, imagine your life. Yes. You could just not worry about that fat roll or that my hair needs to be colored right now and I need to go see Jacqueline Rodriguez. She can fix it. Like, if you were just not even thinking about that, you could just be more.
Well, that's why I love telling people I always say like the crazy in my head because I need them to be like, no one's thinking. I need to say that I'm feeling insecure about my pants or, and that's like, I need to have those reminders from the trusted people that are like, no one cares. Right. No one.
And then here's the thing. You do that because none of us see that in you. And then someone goes, oh my gosh, she's thinking about that? We never would have thought she was thinking. And then it frees them up because they stood up in the meeting and said, oh gosh, I hope she doesn't see my roots showing. Yes. Like the same, it's just like lets it all go.
Yep, we're all there together.
We're a mess, women. I don't know how y'all deal with us.
I think men are a mess too, though. See, that's the thing. Men just don't talk about it too. And that's why the podcast, we got some awesome male listeners. And I think one thing I've heard is a lot of couples listen to stuff because that's the thing. Men don't sit around and talk about things, but they feel it. And so it's kind of figuring out that space or whatnot. I'm actually having a guy come in. We're going to do an episode that's about men and kind of connecting and how men do crave connection.
Sure.
Well, that's why like my mission statement originally was that I want women to feel connected and seen and see others, but I kind of dropped the women part because, I don't know if it's because I used to just work with women a lot or what, but it's like, well, no, I really want people, everybody.
Everyone. Yeah.
So anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. Okay, so I wanted to jump into your brain and be like, what do people need to know, Amy? What about life do you want to share with the world?
One thing I really want to share, because it just keeps coming back up for me, is and because fitness has been such a part of my life for so long, that I thought it would be a good platform, or this was a good platform because we all struggle with all those things, to share a little bit, because again, it comes with age, where I am now versus where I was before. But so I'll just share a little bit about that if it's okay. And
I love it.
So I started going to the gym to work out when I was 13. I had to get permission from my parents to get signed into the gym. And gyms weren't a thing back then, for kids. There wasn't even they train the kids now. You go to all the 10-year-olds in some $300 a week camp to be a better football player when they're 20. Okay. So we did it too, so I get it. But not talking bad about it. We've done it, but it just was a different time.
Yeah.
So, I had a lot of turmoil in my house and family struggle and issues at home. So that was kind of an escape. I needed something to go do. And I wasn't an athlete, and I had very low self-confidence for most of my life. And so that was a place where I could go by myself. I didn't need anybody to do it, and I could just kind of figure it out, like how to do it. And so that's how I started in the gym, like on the weight floor with like dumbbells and the rowing machine, like really manly things. And I remember this tennis instructor lady just having to show me how to use the rowing machine, because I'm like a kid. I'm sure she was like, are you supposed to be in the daycare? Like, why are you even up here on this floor? So it just got started. And I just started to find it to be the place where I could go and like let go of everything, because I had to focus on what I was doing because I didn't know what I was doing. And so that's where the whole stepping into the gym first came from. And then, jazzercise and things like that came along. And I went to college and took a class in like the cafeteria that some lady used to teach. And that was my first like class experience, because again, I'm 50, so it wasn't a big deal. Now people do it all the time.
Yeah.
The colleges have these amazing gyms, but they did not when I was at school. So I was still a freshman, and the lady, and I'm saying lady because she was probably 10 years older than me when she was teaching it, was she asked me, she didn't want to do it anymore, if I would teach it. And I've never taught anything before, but she's like, just bring your boom box and, jump around and do jumping jacks. And it was all that kind of, old Jane Fonda stuff.
That's fun.
And that was my breakout into teaching classes, was, a cafeteria. We had to push the tables out of the way. And when I was 18 years old at college.
Wow.
And from that point on, I just started to get like a job with the school. So I had the working thing where you get like some little bit of money, but you get credit towards your school or whatever for working, teaching, doing something in the school while you're in class, and just continued on. So just been in that whole environment for a really long time. So in that whole from 18 to 50 is a lot of years. So I've seen a lot of stuff. I've been through my own metamorphosis of body, and just like people have other quote addictions to get rid of stuff, that became a good place. At least it's healthy, but it can also be really unhealthy.
Yeah, one extreme to the
That's
other.
That's exactly right. Addiction runs high in my family, so I was really adamant about not being an addict of drugs and alcohol. But oftentimes when you are the child of someone who's an addict, you have kind of control issues, because as a young person, you have to learn how to control your environment so you know what to expect. So I grew up doing that. So me being in control of my own existence in life is always really important in managing everything. And so because the gym was my mental escape, I could start to see changes in my body. So like my arms would get firmer, and then I would want more, like I enjoyed doing it. The endorphin rush would come, and
you see the result. Like you said,
see
it's the control.
Yes.
You're able to say, look, I can do this and I get this.
And so if I do more, I can do more, and I can see more, and I can see more. And so it is the same mindset, and at least it's healthy, but for me it's always been about, but is your mind right? Like I never was anorexic or anything like that. I wasn't doing those sorts of things other than the typical kid who was like on a hot dog and beet diet or some ridiculous thing, eating peanut butter crackers. How do you think
you kept from getting to that extreme then, though? Like, because you knew to focus on keeping your mind right.
I did, and part of my mind, I have to be honest, wanted to go down that route.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to stick my finger down my throat and throw up, because I wanted more and more control. When I saw that I could gain control of my personal self, I was like, oh, I can't freaking control anything else, but this I can. I can watch the stuff grow, and like my pants fit different, and I can not eat as much. Like it was just, it's a thing that happens in your head, That freaked me out. So I went through a phase of, I didn't throw up or anything, but I did go through a phase where I was working out a lot, because it just was the place where I went to escape. But it was always ticking in the back of my mind that is still the disease. And it was so important for me to not have that and to break the cycle.
And you probably knew if you gave into it once.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, boom,
forget it. I was
down
done.
the road.
I was done. I could very easily have gone down that road of like body builder. People used to ask me, why don't you train for figure competitions?
Because you knew.
I knew. So two things. One, if I had not had such low self-esteem, I would have done it. So the only thing that kept me from doing that, it was the fact that I was scared to death to fail. I didn't think that I was good enough.
I joke a lot, and about, like, it's always in a joking way, like, oh, God didn't give me, if I would have had the body of Britney Spears circa 1999, like, I would have been a mess, because I would have wanted validation for my looks, because I was a teenage girl, and I naturally would have craved that. So if I would have looked like her, like, dang, I would have been in trouble.
That's right.
But I'm like, well, I struggle with my weight because it keeps maybe me in check, and and not like in a check way, in a negative way, but just it forces me to work on other parts of me because I am susceptible to similar things like that.
Well, and I also think that your God, your higher power, whomever, they have a plan for you. Obviously, we all know that, right? So he may have known that if he did that for you, like he's working his plan through you right now. If that had been, you had been Britney Spears, you may not have ever gotten here.
Yes.
You might be on a different path and whatnot, but like this is where he needs for you to be. And so he had to make sure that you got there. And so taking you off on some stage as Britney Spears, then you might not be here. Who knows? You could be doing something else.
Struggles I have. Well, that's, it's funny that you just gave that perspective. And then we were talking about age. I think that's why, there's the cliches, like with age comes wisdom, not all the time, but a lot of the time, because it's like you're able to see more stories through. But when you're young, I just remember when my daughter was born and like, going on a road trip and she was a mess and my mom just being like, it's fine, it'll work out. And I remember saying something kind of like, you don't know that. Oh yeah. You don't know that. I know. And now here we are, 10 years later. And now I look at moms in those same phases and I'm like, oh, they're not going to go to sleep. They're not going to go to college sleeping in your bed. No. But when you have that 1-year-old that's in, if you have a 1-year-old in your bed, I mean, Jeremy and I especially, we both have that personality that if you do something once, it's going to be like that all the time. If you let your kids sleep in your bed one time, they're never going to sleep out of it. And now it's like, oh wait, if they're sick and they sleep, it's like, they're not going to sleep all the time with us, but we have that like crazy.
Now they will do that because I did do that. And so mine literally would not, it was the child in the bed.
And that's okay because that's what worked for you, though. You know what I mean?
Did.
Like
we're no worse for the wear.
Exactly. That's the more when you're out of that phase. So whatever it is, using that example, but anything, you just think it's always going to be that way. Yeah. And then when you have the age perspective, you're like, oh, things happen the way they are, or you go off track, you think something doesn't work out. And like we can look back and say, oh, that was God's, or the universe, whatever's protection.
Right. That's right.
You. But at the time, it didn't feel
like
that.
No. Yeah. So that's that. So then then being probably a little bit older as I've aged through this whole fitness process, and especially now, being at the gym as a 50-year-old instructor with a couple of other 50-year-olds, a lot of 30s and 20-year-olds, and the masses working out now. So, it's not just old ladies working out. There's kids that are in high school coming to the gym, coming to the classes. So it just became so important to me because I resonated with both groups of people, like the younger people, because I'd been there before. But now I'm the age of these other women. And I just wanted them to stay in the classes. I just wanted them to stay because I knew they were going to feel better. Eventually, you'll look better because you can't not, if that's what your goal is, unless you're just, eating ho-hos in the gym and out of the gym. But most people aren't doing that. But I just wanted them to stay. And it became such a soulful mission for me to have them stay because I could see, and I still see it in classes now. You'll just look at somebody and I want to tell you this one story, and you're just like, this could not be good. Like this could be the end all for this person in fitness because of how they're going to feel in this class. So the biggest turn came from a class I taught, probably it's been 10 years ago now, at what was World Gym. And I'm sure the person wouldn't mind if I said her name, but I'm not going to say it. And I was teaching a cycle class, and the way that room was set up, the stage is up here, and the whole room goes this way. And what was interesting is the back row of the class was by the door. So a lot of times the door is at the front, and then the back room is like the back is the back.
Oh, yeah.
So anybody who goes to fitness classes, the difference between front row people and back row people. and if you don't, front row people, once they become a front row person, they're always going to be a front row person. And those are the people that are super confident. They don't mind being up front. They want to be up front. They get upset when they have to be anywhere else. They like to be really super engaged. They want to be right there in front of whoever's teaching so they can see and do everything just right. And they just are front row people. It is a thing.
Yeah.
And the back row people,
back row person.
So you know what that is. It's like hide me in the corner in the dark. I don't want anyone to see me. I really don't want the instructor to see me. But let me just give y'all a little tip, back row people. I gave this to my class the other day. It's like in a concert, like let's say you have a thing for Adam Levine, right? And you get like this ticket, the thing where you can stand right by the stage. He can't see you. He can see people about 3 rows back. So the back row people are trying to hide from the teacher. I got you all day long. You ain't hiding from me. Now the rest of the class, if there's mirrors, can see you too, but it's just a psychological thing. So I told that to the class. I said, so you back row people might want to start being front row people because I can't see you when you're up here.
That is so funny.
So in this particular class, people come in. I'm up there. I've been teaching for a long time now, and lots of people that I recognize in the class, my regular people. And I just get ready to, it's about 5 minutes before class starts, and I get ready to look up to go shut the door. And there's this girl that is sitting in the back row right beside the door on the bike. Literally, the door is right beside her. Well, I can't even see her face because her head is down. And for no reason other than that she's like literally trying to hide. She is a very heavy person at this point in her life. And she is trying to hide herself in the back by the door. And I could just see it all over her. And I'd never met her before. So I got off my bike and walked back there, took my mic off and introduced myself. And she wouldn't even look at me. She just kept her head like this the whole time. And I said, asked her what her name was. And she told me, and she's like, this is my first time. I don't think I'm going to stay. I'm probably going to leave. I'm probably going to leave before you start the music. And my heart was like just pounding because I couldn't believe that she was in there with what I was seeing on her face, because she didn't have a friend, so she was by herself. And I thought the struggle that she must have made in her own self to get in that door.
What it took for her to even go there, to even be there. Yeah.
Like she should have, and I say in air quotes, not even come, because she did not want to be there, but something made her come there. But she had already told herself she was going to leave.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my gosh. So I said, well, no, don't do that. I said, it really is just like riding a bike. Ha ha. Like I tried to make a joke. And she's like, I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to stand by the door. So if the door opens, please don't say anything. I'm just going to leave. I said, well, I hope you don't. I really hope you'll stay. And she just literally didn't want to talk to me at all. I didn't know what her face looked like because her head was down. And I was standing there with her. And I didn't know what else to say. And I had to go start the class. And I thought, oh, it's going to make me cry. I thought, I'm either going to break this person or I'm going to change it for them. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, don't apologize.
It terrified me because that was the first time that I felt like that job was really important to another human being. And I thought, oh my God, I could make this person's decision about whether they ever come back in here, and that they could feel humiliated for the rest of their life based on what happens in this classroom. And I was like, if I do anything today or the rest of my life in this class, if she stays, then just for this one whole class, then what I do will have meant.
It matters.
It mattered.
Yes.
If I don't do anything else with it, if I can just get her to stay in the class, even if she sits. I said, don't even pedal. The bike's going to hurt. See, it's going to hurt your butt. I did. I was like, it is going to hurt. So just sit there. I said, you don't even have to pedal. Just stay and promise me you'll stay in the room. I looked up at the end of class a couple of times through. She was still there. And I looked up at the end of class because it was pitch black in this room. We had no lights. So when you turn the lights off, unlike Lifetime, it was totally dark.
Yeah.
She was still there. And I just thought, like, I'm looking up right now. I thought, thank you, Jesus, but she got up and got out before I got back there. Like, literally, as soon as the song went off and we were stretching, she was out of there. And that started her fitness journey.
Wow.
And if you saw her now from a physical standpoint, because that's why most people start their journey, right? She has lost, I think, over 130 pounds. Wow. She is a completely different person physically. But what is most important, and so I continued, we continued to be together through all these classes. So I watched her go from not being able to even step up on the bench steps where you do step aerobics, when we would get them out and put risers under them. She would just put the bench down on the ground and she would like not even be able to put her foot on it. Like she had this fear of that. So that's a whole nother story. But these guys at the gym now that she's at Lifetime, that she's training, just got her to do box jump ups. And they recorded it for her. I mean, it's the whole, so we talked about that. But at any rate, my point with that whole thing is that it really showed me the struggles that men too, I'm sure, we are all going through, and how an environment, a group, a room, a person, a moment in time can change all of that. And if she got the wrong instructor or the wrong class or someone making a face at her because she was larger, that would have been the end of that. And who cares what size she is, other than from her health standpoint of being like healthy? What would it have done to her spirit for the rest of her life, and how she would then have to undo that on top of everything else is just so much. And so that's just always been my mission now, is to, no matter who comes in the room, any room, business or fitness, just to make them feel a part, because not a lot of people do that for other people. And I'm one of those people who, people don't think that, I still can be very low on self-confidence, and I still get nervous coming into a room. Like yesterday when I walked into Team Win's room late, I was like, oh gosh, like you could feel the energy was already going on. Like I kind of came in and I just wanted to like shrink, like some people be like, oh bam, everybody gets to see me because I'm coming up in here and I was just like, oh my gosh, don't make me sit over there. I'm just going to stand back here by the wall.
See, I feel that way. And so to compensate, I've told the secret. So now everyone listening will know my secret.
I think we might have the same one.
The more confident I seem is the more nervous I am. So when I get real punchy and I'm making joke after joke after joke after joke, and it's like, shut up. Like if I just can't stop, it's like, cause I'm nervous, but people don't often see that until I tell them, which now the secret's out of the bag.
That's okay. My mom used to tell me the same thing. She's like, you're trying to be funny and it's not funny. So I would try to break it. I would try to break it by being like, you know, trip over my feet, like do something really corny. And I still do it. My husband will say that too. He's like, that was really weird. That was awkward. Why didn't you just walk in the room? Why'd you have to fake fall or like some, you know, because I'm so nervous. Like I'm so nervous.
Yeah. Well, I thought of something while you were talking. It's just a simple thing, but I had my aha moment, which was you make people feel like they belong. And I think that is wanting you to know that, but for listeners, that is a gift you can give to people.
Oh, that means a lot because that's the best way that I probably didn't sum it up.
That's okay. That's why we work together. That's what we're here for. Yes. Like, because like you said, you saw her and were touched. And I think that everyone's touched with that story because either you see yourself in either role, you know, I think, and everyone I think can see themselves in both roles, no matter what their life circumstances are, and the power that you can have in someone's life and what you can give. You know, you see the quotes all the time, you know, you never know what people are going through and yada, yada. And I just love the prayer or the intention, whatever your belief system is and how you want to look at it, is that if you can be a blessing to people and be a light to them, what an impact you can have for them. And like I said, when you were just talking, I was like, you have such a gift of just making people feel like they belong and that they matter. And it's a simple gift to give, I think, but it's a huge thing for someone to receive.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what we all want, really. Like really when you think about what most of us are going through, it's usually starts with feeling like you don't belong. You're not good enough. You don't matter. You're not being heard or being seen. And I remember Oprah saying some quote about how all the people she's interviewed, from, you know, literally like serial killers and people with schizophrenia to Beyonce. And she said, after every one of those interviews, they all say the same thing. And she said, believe it or not, Beyonce did too. I turned the mic off and Beyonce looked at me. Y'all understand on the air, Beyonce did not look at me. I wish she did, but she did not. Beyonce looked at Oprah and said, was I good enough? And Oprah was like telling the story and she was like, girl, Beyonce was looking at me, asking me if I thought she was good, like Beyonce.
Yes.
And that's the point though, that we all just want to feel like we did a good job and that we belong wherever we are. And it's so important. It's the awful feeling when you feel like you don't belong or when someone makes you feel like that. That's the worst. And I really get upset when women do that. I'm sorry, but I just think that's so not cool. Like that is bad enough that happens in like grade school and high school and stuff. But like when you're a grown woman, come on. Like we are all on the same team here and we all need to win together, and men too. I mean, it's everybody. We're just all like that. But it's a big disappointment when
I think that's with when we talked earlier, the age comes wisdom. I remember, you know, my mom probably giving me that advice when I was in high school, which is, you know, everyone's insecure, and that if they make you feel bad, it's about them, not you. And of course, as a teenager, you're like, no, mom, it's about me. Okay. Like they don't like me or blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm sure there's some that didn't, but like, then you get older. And so now when you see someone be, you know, we'll just say, I don't know, catty or whatever the words are, it's like, oh, now you get it. You're like, they're dealing with some stuff. They're projecting it on other people. Or to make themselves feel better, they might have to put someone down.
Right.
And so, and not to pick on people. It's something that I try to think of myself too. Like, oh, if I'm doing something, am I doing this to making it? For me with comedy and jokes and stuff, it's something that I try to be mindful of. Is I don't want to put other people down.
Right.
At the expense of a joke. So I try to put myself, you know.
Right.
So I love that self-deprecating area. But yeah, that's, I think, then you can recognize that as you get older, and
But you also have to be okay with where you are, because sometimes you can see that if you're in a place where you're confident, but if you go into a new environment that you're not confident, even though that worked in one area, you can walk into, like, let's say a networking room and you're not really good at networking, or in the gym. Like maybe you're super amazing in the boardroom. You run a company and you're like just the boss, but you're just getting back into fitness. So you run stuff in your company, but all of a sudden you go into the gym. Sometimes that doesn't transfer, or the reverse, and you're all of a sudden you can't think that same thought you just said, which is, that's something that person's got not about me. You're like, oh no, this is definitely just about me.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's so true. Yes. If you're in like a good place, you can think logically.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, if you're struggling,
not,
oh my gosh, if I went to the gym, I was thinking of the cycle class. I did that like, I don't know, 6 years ago or something. I went to 5 years ago with a friend. And I remember, you just described the seating, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes, we were like one from the back because I'm not going to be in the total back.
Right.
Third row. So I'm third row, which apparently is perfect vision for the teacher. But I remember I'm with my friend, and I was like struggling, and they're like, go faster, and I'm like, I have a hard time with cardio. So I'm going in. I'm like, I say to her, I'm like, just go on without me. Just go on. I'll catch up. Just go on. I can't. It's so hard.
Meanwhile, you're on a stationary bike right beside her. She's still right beside you, no matter how slow you're pedaling.
Just go. I'll catch up.
You're walking your bike.
Yes, I'm like, that made me realize I am never going on a real bike ride with anyone.
Right.
Because I would be by myself.
Oh yeah, me too. People that take like the road classes that also ride on the road, men mostly, we say, why don't you come out and ride on the road? I'm like, are you seriously trying to wait for me? Because you're going to be like, you have to get off your bike and wait for me to get all the way up that big hill on 234. Because I am not doing that.
No.
But you teach class, like, do you see what I do in there? I'm on the bike like 3 minutes, and the rest of the time I'm, down there doing the running man and high-fiving people. So if you get a workout, I don't. But if everybody else does, it's like more of a party. So.
Oh my gosh, of course you get a workout. You're going. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, but also giving back so much.
Well, thank you too, because you've really started this for a lot of people, and people who want to share and give have a place to do it, and people who don't realize that they have things to share and give. You're like kind of plucking them out of hiding in their Umbro shorts in the back of the room.
Oh.
You are, and allowing them to have a safe space to do that. And there's going to be many more hundreds of people's lives that are touched because of it in the off conversations that, we just had, and that don't even have to do with the podcast or whatever. So you guys are pretty daggone incredible, and that is God.
Be sure and check out The Full Flush with Amy. She continues her stories. You'll hear all about her Umbro shorts and a great treadmill story. You think you know, but you have no idea. Here's the first minute and a half.
I'm just gonna tell this treadmill story only really quickly, because it's about the gym.
It's fine. But not in a rush, girl.
But because it's about a really embarrassing moment. So, I know you love those. You
love
them.
Only if people want to tell. Everyone always thinks they have to tell it. And I'm like, no, that's just my window to break down.
Sure.
That's my in, to make you feel comfortable about telling
that's
me
how you
any
make
story.
me belong, right?
Yes.
Tell your really embarrassing story.
Yes. Like, I'll tell you mine, and then you just tell me whatever you want to tell me. You don't have to tell me embarrassing. But of course, I will hear an embarrassing story.
So I was thinking about these as I was trying to think of different. I don't know that they're going to be like any grand aha moments your listeners might be.
I already had one.
Okay, good. We're good then. Check.
Yes.
So two things that I find interesting as I was writing this stuff. So it's funny how when you have to take time to prepare, I suggest everyone prepare like they're going to be on your show one day.
Okay, perfect.
Really,
love it.
Because
all right, listeners, get on that.
Right. Just prepare like you're coming on to Flushing It Out. And start thinking about things that you've heard in the podcast, because I went to my room last night for 3 hours and I just sat,
To prepare for this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just because I needed the quiet time, because I was really busy yesterday.
Yes.
And I had things but I just like all this stuff started coming in because I'm 50 now.
Yes.
There's like some cool stuff that happens in my head that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. So I suggest everyone prepare, because it really lets you deep dive into your stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe the things you thought you were hanging on to, like my treadmill story, aren't really like that thing anymore. They were for a while, but not anymore.
And that's a wrap for now.
Thanks for listening to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle. Music provided by twinmusicom.org. Song titled Night at the Dance Hall. Sound editing by me, Jeremy Spittle. A special thanks to our studio sponsor, M&M Exteriors. Visit their website at mmexteriors.com for all of your roofing, siding, and gutter needs in the Northern Virginia area. Visit our website at flushingitout.com and be sure to subscribe. This has been a Spitfire production.
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.